no matter what industry you come from, you can always break into tech. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. For those that are new here, my name is Megan. I talk about everything career and tech development. So that means that we're helping you through your career, advising you, and you're going to see a lot of videos like this, some interviews from other tech professionals, or other videos are just simply the day in the life, what it's like to be working in the tech space, and general advice to you. For today's video, we're going to be talking about the number one question that I get, and that is, how did you break into the tech space? What are the suggestions and advice that you would give to others? And I'm going to be breaking that down into things that were helpful for me. Hopefully they're helpful and they guide you through you breaking into the tech industry as well. So let's go ahead and start. There's a lot of things that I want to cover. We're going to be talking about what I call the steps to do before actually breaking into the tech industry, and then the actual steps that you're going to be taking, such as like your LinkedIn, your resume, volunteering, and what you can do to really stand out in the tech space and land that first career. So I'm excited. Let's go ahead and dive into it. So before I get into the actual steps and tips for you, I want to talk to you a little bit about my career and how it's going to be helpful throughout this video. So I started working in the ed tech space, and this is when data science was that hot new thing. I worked as an admissions counselor, but also career counselor. That means that any students that were interested in the programs that I was involved with, which was the Master's in Data Science program, specifically for master's graduate students, this industry was new, and a lot of people, what it felt like to me, were waiting to kind of find this type of position out there, being able to be that analytical person and somebody that loves data, and be able to be the middle person and take the tech team and take the functional team and be able to relate that data and make huge business changes, positive impacts, and so forth. For me, breaking into this tech space, that was new. My background was international affairs for my undergraduate degree, so if you would have asked me like 5 years ago if I would have been in the tech space, I would have said no, because like many people, I grew up thinking that if you do come into the tech space, you have a tech background, you have a tech degree, you're a coder, you're in front of the computer all day. And that wasn't the case. I worked at UC Berkley, but also Syracuse University in upstate New York as an admissions counselor, as a career counselor. And from there, I was truly able to find out about different roles in the tech space, everything from program management, product management, product owners, you have UX designers, just different roles which you probably never would have thought of, be able to be relatable in the tech space. And I've met a lot of people who have come from the non-traditional tech backgrounds into the tech space. I definitely think, like many people, we always think that tech is just for tech professionals, but I'm here to make this type of video to show you that no matter what industry you come from, you can always break into tech. These are the steps that I'm going to be sharing on how I did it from a non-traditional tech background and how I was able to find my role. So what I want to be able to share with you is that experience of working as an admissions counselor and as a career counselor. There's a lot of pre-steps that I want to talk to you all about, the actual steps to be able to find that role. There's a lot of videos out there that talk about, volunteering and your LinkedIn and applying to jobs. While we are going to be covering that, I think that what makes this video stand out and this advice stand out is going to be the things that I learned as an admissions counselor. And the biggest thing that we're going to talk about here for a few minutes is going to be creating a plan for yourself. Because without a plan, without a timeline, without these next steps for yourself, it's going to be very hard to be able to get to the things that we're actually going to talk about. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the pre-steps before the steps that you need to actually land that tech job. Okay, so when I was working as an admissions counselor, both at UC Berkeley and Syracuse University, there's a lot of professionals that were coming into this space that have been working for numerous years, whether that be the stretch of 10 years to 30 years. So that meant that I had the opportunity to meet some pretty cool people, folks that had been in the military for years, so again, 20, 30 years, to tech professionals in Silicon Valley being in the top leading positions, so such as like directors at Spotify, data science specialists at Amazon, LinkedIn, people who were in charge of building the 9/11 memorials, architects. So there is a bunch of really cool people that I had the opportunity to learn from. Not only did I learn about what they did in their careers, but I was also able to learn about how they got to where they are in their careers. While I was able to help and advise them on how to apply to a program, how to find a job, how to put themselves in the best position while creating their LinkedIn and resume, they were also able to teach me tips to be able to continue sharing with my students and even on this channel on how to advance your career in tech, how to stand out, how to build portfolios, how to ask better questions in job interviews and so forth. So what I want to talk about is the exposure that I had and the learning, and be able to share this golden nuggets essentially with you as you listen to this video. What inspired me to primarily break into tech were these type of individuals. Hearing about the cool things that they were doing, the things that they were involved with, it made me interested in pursuing my career in tech. At that time, we were using, as admissions counselors, a platform called Salesforce to be able to track our students. So if you think about somebody opting into finding out more information about a school program, that means that they want to be reached out to by somebody to either answer questions, find out more about the program, or figure out how to apply. That was our jobs as admissions counselors and career counselors. Was once a student did reach out, our job was to be able to talk with them throughout the process, and eventually, hopefully, they apply. In the back end of what the students did once they submitted their interest into the program, Salesforce would keep that information from each student. And I was able to start working with this platform, this cloud platform, and eventually see that tech was a space where, okay, I'm gathering all this information about my students. I have all these great ideas for the business, for the program, and how it could get better based off my one-on-one interaction with these individuals. Let me take that information. Let me get that information that we're getting from the students, such as like the age of who's applying to the program, what kind of classes that they're interested in, what they want to see out of the program, and take that to the business and improve the program. Now, Salesforce at the time was able to help me gather that information through data, through analytics, through the collection and exposure of working with the students, that I quickly became interested in actually getting certified in the platform. I was working, but like during lunchtime, I would be creating dashboards and reports and talking with my managers at the time on how we could improve the program, talking with the program, talking with the admissions team. And I really saw a blossom in my career, which I didn't experience before. So that just showed me that positions out there are not always technical. And that's what I want to be able to share with you all. If you are somebody like this working whatever industry that you are working with, we're always working with data at the end of the day. And there's an ability to be able to take what you do now and transition into the tech space. Fast forwarding, I decided to get certified on the platform, and I was able to take my certification and find a role. But it's easy for me to be able to tell you like, hey, I got certified and I found a position. I want to take that step back before we even get into there. And I want to talk to you all about an important piece which I learned from my students, and I take that and I tell others that are transitioning to the tech space that before you actually make and take that step, there's pre-steps that you have to be able to take. So that means creating a plan for yourself, being committed, and actually saying this is the timeline that I want to do to be able to get to where I want to be. So that's what we're going to talk about. I thought it was just very important to share how I broke into the tech space, how I saw that correlation, and then how I took my background and made it into a possibility for me to get into the tech space. Because I think that's a place where a lot of people miss. It's an exciting thing to be able to break into tech and find your first role. But what are the steps that you actually need to take to get there? While we're going to talk about applying and job interviews and tips and tricks and stuff like that, we're going to talk about how to actually get prepared to make that move first. And I'm going to be using my story as an example throughout this video in hopes that it does help you make sense out of your own career and how to make that pivot yourself. Let's go ahead and get started and talk about those pre-steps. So before we even get into the steps that you need to do to be able to land the job, one really important area that I want to talk to you all about is something that I learned when I was working as an admissions counselor in the ed tech space. And that was coming with a plan. A plan means that you are asking yourself some hard questions. You're taking some time even before hopping into what do I need to get there? What certs do I need to look into? What do I need to do to update my LinkedIn, my resume? The list goes on of things that you need to do. But what you need to do before that, and is the most important piece, is create a plan for you. And this means that you're going to be asking yourself some hard questions that you need to be super real with yourself about. These are some things that I had to do when I was making my own transition from working in the ed tech space to now working in tech myself. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, what does my schedule and my life look like right now? And am I truly able to dedicate this time to studying, to getting to where I want to be? And that means if you have kids, where in the day or in the night can you study? If it means you're working 2 jobs, when can you dedicate time to be able to focus on the steps that you need to do to be able to get to a certification, let's say? This is where the time really plays a big piece, because if you have a goal, and most likely you need to get certified if you are in the tech space, or you need to have a portfolio, you need to dedicate time, you need to build up your background to really represent that you are fit for this future role. These are things that you need to be able to be prepared to ask yourself and to plan. And this is going to come with structuring a plan for yourself. This is the step before the steps. The first thing that you need to do is ask yourself, how many hours a week can I dedicate to my goal? For me, it was after my working the 9 to 5, I would come and I would work for 2 to 3 hours per night. And on the weekends, maybe I would do 6 hours. Just depends. You have to be able to look at your own schedule and be real with yourself and not just say, this is something I can do. If you don't have a plan created for yourself and time and blocked off in your calendar, most likely it's going to not work out. It's not going to fall through. So just being real and being intentional and planning your steps is going to make a huge difference. So the 2 areas that you need to focus on is the first one that we mentioned is being real about your time. But the second thing that you need to really be able to make sure that you're covering your basis with is the steps that you have aligned for yourself. And that is making a commitment of when you're going to sit down for a certification, when you're going to sit down to do what you need to be able to get to where you need to be or want to be. So, for example, I had my certification. I said I'm going to study 10 hours a week, and that means with 10 hours, I can get there in 4 months. And that was me being like really realistic with myself. If you don't have a timeline for when you want to get somewhere, it can be all loosey-goosey. I've met a lot of people that want to break into the tech space, but they don't give themselves a time. They don't give themselves a date. They just study. They never get to where they want to be. And they always ask themselves, like, why didn't I get there? Why is it taking me so long? And that's because you didn't come with a pre-plan. So before we get into the steps, these are the steps before the steps. Make sure that you dedicate time for yourself and be realistic about how much you can dedicate. And then number 2, make a solid deadline for when you're going to make this change. When are you going to get to where you want to go? And plan it out from there. So now that we talked about the pre-steps, let's go ahead and talk about the actual steps that you want to do to break into the tech space. So I remember when I first passed my certification in 2021, I was super excited. I ran to the coffee shop, I got my computer, and I was going to sit down and start applying for jobs. Quickly did I remember that I didn't have the LinkedIn, the resume, the network, or even really the plan to be able to do this. I was just so excited. And that's probably how you're going to feel once you get all the qualifications that you feel you need to be able to apply to a job. But what we need to really do is create our own roadmap for success. And what that looks like is having a good network to be able to reach out, going to networking events as well, being in person, being able to hear about open opportunities, possible opportunities, and making those one-on-one connections. We need to make sure that we're looking at our LinkedIn and our resume and make sure that we're taking our previous work and making it into little bullet points on your LinkedIn and resume that transcribe into whatever position that you're looking for. So whether that's being a project manager, business analyst, a developer, you're going to use like the previous professional experience that you had and change that wording to make it sound like more X position that you want to break into. And the last two areas that we're going to talk about is the volunteer and hands-on experience, but also how to create a portfolio and how to create a resume/LinkedIn that works for you. Let's say my educational background lacked the experience needed for X position. How do I take and remove things from my professional background and create new things that appeal to these new jobs? So this is our roadmap that we're going to be creating. Let's go ahead and start. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is networking. So before we go into the next steps, I want to talk to you all about finding your why and really keeping that at the center of what you're doing, because this transition into tech is going to be tiring. It's going to be long nights, early mornings. It's going to be a challenge. Like if you were going to lose 40 pounds or train for a marathon, it's going to be tiring. You're going to have to put in time to it. Maybe not seeing your friends and family. This is going to take a little bit of sacrifice here. So I want to make sure that as we talk about these next things, while you're excited, you're also keeping that why there, because you're going to hit those days, I certainly did, where, studying is a lot. Remind yourself that it's okay to take a break and take a day off or two, whatever you need, but just keep that why at your center and make sure as you're doing that, you're also keeping the excitement in you. The consistency is really what you need. For example, I kept my why as the kids that I spoke to and the students that I spoke to were excited about their careers. I fed off of their excitement. So as they went on into their programs, I was able to really see and understand what a job in tech would look like. So really make sure that as you progress through this next steps that we're going to go through is that you keep that why at the center of things. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about creating that roadmap for you landing your tech job and the specific steps that you need to do. So now that you've probably taken some time to look at positions that you're interested in, and just know that there's a broad range like we talked about earlier. There's being a developer, product manager, project manager, business analyst, customer success manager. There's a lot of cool things that you can do inside of the tech world. And I really think it comes into play where you have at least researched and seen what you might be interested in. And it's okay to list down 2 or 3 roles. I think that sometimes in tech, a lot of the roles kind of interlap with each other. At least that's been my experience from being a consultant to a business analyst to a product owner. So there's a lot of overlap. So it's okay to be like, okay, I may be interested in these 2 positions. Just know that you don't have to have like that specific career and you have to be committed to it. You're not marrying into a position. The cool thing about tech is that you can kind of say, I like ABC and I might want to explore ABC. So just make sure that you have an idea of what the role that you're interested in. The second step that I would suggest for somebody breaking into tech is to really leverage your network. And if you are new to LinkedIn, or maybe you have a LinkedIn platform, but you haven't really used it, it's just kind of sitting there. As you go looking for a job, there's a few tips. If you are in tech, it is specifically a red flag for you not to be able to have anything on your LinkedIn. You want to build it genuinely. And what I mean by that is you want to kind of touch on the areas that you've done before. You want to fill it out. You want to have things in there where people can come to your profile and be like, oh, this is what Kayla does, and this is her background. I have a great video right here on how to kind of create your LinkedIn and areas that you should be focusing on, so definitely make sure to check that out. But this is where you want to start reaching out to your network, reaching out and saying, hey, I might or I am interested in a consulting position or a developer position. Is there 15 minutes that you and I could sit down for a virtual coffee chat? Or if they're local to you, that's even better. Offer to buy them a coffee, buy them a drink, and use that time to be able to make connections. But be genuine about things. That's my biggest takeaway, is that now in today's age, you want to make genuine connections where you can have an ability to reach out to these professionals at any time. So definitely make sure you're focusing on your network and the growth of it. Now, you've got certified, you're ready to go, you have a LinkedIn, and you have your resume. They either A, look kind of empty, or B, they just don't fit where you want to go. What you should be doing is looking at the job descriptions for positions that you're potentially interested in. What I did when I was applying for my first position, or even today, right? I might be interested in positions ranging from business analyst, product owner, customer success manager. So I'm looking at those roles and looking specifically for what they need. So for a business analyst, I may need to have a SQL background. I may need to have data analytics background. So I would take that step back and use the bullet points in my previous professional experience and tailor that in a data analysis way. Or how did I use this data gathered from the business? What automation did we implement that helped the business? You want to be able to show results more than key bullet points for what you did. Remember, results show what you are capable of doing for a company. So you want to definitely make sure that that's in there as well. So now that you've identified areas in a job description in which you need to start filling out in your resume, that's step number 1. So the second thing that you want to do for your LinkedIn and your resume is that you really want to look at it. You want to say, okay, I'm applying for a business analyst position or a developer position. Is what's on my LinkedIn and resume relevant to where, number 1, I want to go, what I see myself doing in the future, or is the skills relevant for what I need for this position and what I need to reflect as I keep growing? So this is your key opportunity to be able to use the precious real estate on your LinkedIn and on your resume. And you want to be able to remove things that shouldn't be there, that are no longer relevant, and put in things that are relevant. So some key things that I have are certifications, technical certifications, skills that are relevant to your position. And you can see this in the job description of what's broken down. Perhaps I need somebody who's a good communicator. Perhaps I need somebody who, like I said, is proficient in Excel or data loading, something along the lines of analytics, Tableau, data mapping, and so forth. So those are the key skills that you really want to make sure that you're putting into your resume. And third thing that you want to do is, if you're, like I said, tech really overlaps in the different positions, unless even with the developers too, you can do different things. So you want to have a resume that's specific to different positions. So I have one for being a business analyst, I have one for being a product owner, and who knows, I may have another one in the future that's more consulting based. So good to have a variety. Now, when it comes to your LinkedIn, you definitely want to make sure that the resume and the LinkedIn reflect each other. That's going to be a key piece for you moving forward. I'm going to put an example of what I have template here of resumes that I've helped people create in the past. This is just to give you an idea of how you can create your own resume moving forward. You want to think of it as real estate. I keep saying this word, and this is going to be a key word, real estate. How you use your resume and your LinkedIn is going to be very important. What do you want somebody to see when they look at your resume? What do you want them to see when you looked at your LinkedIn? So you want to make sure that you're filling this new information with technical skills, technical certifications, technical backgrounds. Your bullet points reflect this moving forward. So if you are interested in learning more about the resume and the LinkedIn part of things and breaking into tech, let me know in the comments and I'll make sure to make a video about that. Okay, so the next area we're going to talk about is going to be important because it really brings in your resume and it adds into the sections that you need to add into it anyways. Again, for example, my husband came from a police background and now he's working in tech. So how do I take his previous military/police experience and put that into a resume to reflect the analytical side of what he did and what he wants to do now? So he's currently working as a consultant/architect, and we really had to look at his bullet points. We had to focus on leadership quality. We had to focus on what type of leadership that he did and what benefits and what did that do and help the military. So those are the specific things that we want to look at. Now, when it comes to filling up areas, let's say for my husband, there wasn't much we could work on. He actually had to add a lot to his resume by getting certifications, by volunteering, by replacing his previous military experience and putting that into one section only, and then using the rest of his experience, removing it and putting in volunteer experience, filling in that technical certification and making himself more valuable at the end of the day. So I'm going to use him as an example because I think coming from the military background and a cop background, like that's the farthest you can go from being like a technical role. So I think it's really perfect for those people that are breaking into tech, and it's going to be really great to have you understand how to create this portion and what you can potentially fill into your resume and your LinkedIn if you need help. Now, one thing that he specifically did was that he volunteered. He went onto Facebook, he got very, very lucky, and he found an opportunity to be able to volunteer. This is for a university, and he volunteered to help the lead Salesforce consultant to be able to implement Sales Cloud into their client's organization. Now, this consultant was helping other technical professionals to be able to break into the space by offering volunteer work. And many times you'll find this, you just have to kind of go online, see what people are doing. With my husband volunteering, he was now able to remove unrelated backgrounds and things from his resume and replace it with Salesforce volunteer, technical volunteer, and then list a full bullet points where he was able to showcase what he did. When and if he gets an interview, he's able to talk about these things. So volunteering and seeing if there's any roles out there, I think is really important. And getting that hands-on experience, specifically if you are coming from roles where it is sometimes difficult to put things into your resume and to be able to showcase your experience. This is something that I had to go through as well. You know, coming from an ed tech background, I really had to get creative with editing my bullet points, but having a non-technical degree, having one technical certification, I had to fill it with other areas that could complement and showcase a hiring manager where I wanted to go, what I was learning, but also my investment in professional growth. So definitely make sure if you find any volunteer positions out there or you can get any hands-on experience, that's going to be really important for you to be able to showcase if you are trying to break into tech. That's like golden material right there. So the next tip that I want to talk about is the importance of a portfolio. Now, if you're coming into a new role, there is going to be a likelihood that you may need to substitute your background from what you may not have to the tech field that you're looking to get into. So whether that be like a business analyst, a project manager, more of a tech focused role, there is an opportunity for you to be able to take these projects that you've perhaps worked on, the courses that you've done, and the projects that you've had from those courses and put them into a portfolio where hiring managers and recruiters can see what you have done and what you are possible of accomplishing. That means in terms of showcasing your tech skills, you can showcase your soft skills, you can have videos inside of this portfolio. You can get as creative as you want. For me, for example, I have a list of videos that I performed when I was first breaking into tech, hence my YouTube channel. And I was able to share that with hiring managers in terms of these are the technical skills that I have, but also the soft skills. Now, it doesn't need to necessarily be videos. A lot of these portfolios are more project-based where you can go in and click around and it takes the user through like this journey of what you're trying to accomplish, what the outcomes were, where you may have gotten stuck, because they want to hear about those type of things. So I do definitely think that having a portfolio, but most importantly, projects inside are what's important. Now, the biggest question that I get, and probably a lot of hesitation from a lot of people is, well, what do I do? Like, how do I stand out? It's a huge question. It's something that I've dealt with as well. But I want to let you know, as a viewer listening to this, that it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. One really cool thing I like about having a portfolio is that these ideas and projects that you can create can come from your everyday life. And I want to show that firsthand because I think examples are the best way for us to be able to get inspiration and be able to learn and really start connecting with others. From a good friend of mine, his name is Amos Go. We did a YouTube interview about a year ago, I can't believe it, just about his creative process and how he was actually able to find a job from building his own portfolio and sharing it via LinkedIn. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that. I'm going to show you his portfolio, the cool things that he's done, in hopes to be able to give you inspiration. So let's go check it out. Okay, everybody. So I want to introduce my good friend Amos. We connected last year, and it was mainly because I was looking for really cool people in the tech space that were doing awesome things and showcasing it. I'm a huge visual learner, and I've learned along the way that a lot of other people are too. So what other best way to be able to showcase what kind of possibilities you can do when you're working on your portfolio? Okay, so let's go ahead and go down Amos's profile. Let's check out what he's doing, what cool projects he's been involved in, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into things that he's done. So make sure to go connect with him. He's a great person to be able to ask questions about, be able to see what he's doing, and then from there, really just get a whole bunch of ideas for yourself. Here's a featured section in LinkedIn. This is a really cool spot because you're able to showcase like things about portfolios or projects that you're working on. Here's a few projects that he's actually done, and we're going to go ahead and dive into some of these. But definitely make sure if you are on his profile to check
all of these out. Really cool things going on. One of the coolest projects for me, I think that he's done, and we actually did an interview on. So if you are interested in learning more about the creativity process behind this specific project, just click the link up here. But this is going to be his Salesforce specific. This is what he works on as a developer, where he created a website for his kids for movie night. So now diving into his portfolio, the whole idea behind this was to be able to create a safe website for his young kids. He wanted to be able to limit PG-13 movies, especially when they're looking at trailers, whether it be too graphic, violent, and so forth, so forth. So what he did was he made a search movie safe for kids. So now every Friday, his kids can actually, and they do, utilize this website where they go on and they're able to safely review different type of movies that are coming out. Some cool features that he added on was dividing it between genres. You have like action movies, you have adventure movies. You can see that it's really broken down. And then the other cool feature that he did add on was on the bottom, you're going to have like the reviews. So how's it doing so far? I think he pulls from different rating sites. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but that is a really cool feature because we all want to know, how is the movie being rated? Is this worth looking into? Should we check it out? So on the bottom, you'll see like 6.4, 6.6, 7.1. Looks like Despicable Me is doing pretty good. Oh, and Transformers 1. Wow. So this makes it a really, really easy, convenient, safe way for his kid to be able to really utilize his project. Now, he posted about this, and this is something from everybody's everyday. If you're a parent, whatever the case may be, if you wanted a quick way for movies to be broken down between genres, how are the ratings doing? Let me just click in to see a little bit about the trailer. So same thing here. We click on Moana 2. You can start the preview from here.
I could really use your help.
Very cool stuff. So he has the trailer embedded into this and a little bit of an overview of what the movie is going to be, along with the minutes, what type of genre it is, when did it release, and any leading actors in it. And I think that's just really fantastic because these are things from your daily life that make things easier. And when I go into talking about projects, yes, you can go as technical as you want to, but it also can be fun things. And that's the cool thing about having a portfolio, is that you can get as creative as you want with it. What I do suggest is, if you are creating portfolios, is bounce ideas off of other people. Talk to other people in your industry, or talk to family members. Ask them from a user perspective, is this an interesting site? Are you captivated by it? Is there something in your daily life that you would like to see solved? Things like that. It can be a traveling app. It can be a nutrition app. It could be how to have workouts at home if you're working from home and you want to be able to move a little bit more. Tracking your daily intake of food. I mean, there's so many things, so many apps that are already out there. Just think about an app perhaps that you think could do better. It's a product at the end of the day. What can you do to improve that product? And take the user through a journey of what your idea was, what's working right now with the product. Perhaps you went out and asked like 5 users, what is the issue that you're facing? What are some areas of improvement that you think that this app could use? And then just go from there. It's about having fun. It's about testing. It's about going through this process. And then ultimately it's about telling that story to whoever is reading your portfolio of what you did and what you did to enhance the product or whatever you may be doing. So I hope this was fun to go through. It's a bunch of fun for me. I actually use this website quite a lot. It's quick, to the point, and exactly what I need. I'm a mother, so not all the times do I know about movies coming out, but this way I'm able to see and be informed about things and also get a rating at the end of the day. So that's all I have about portfolios. Let's go ahead and hop to the next tip.
So now that you've done everything that we reviewed, such as getting your resume ready, your LinkedIn, you have a great portfolio, you've networked, and you've had those coffee chats, now it's time for you actually to apply to jobs and interview. We're going to talk about the applying for jobs first and what you should be preparing yourself for, and then we'll talk about interview and questions and associated to that. When it comes for looking for a job, you pretty much want to go onto common job websites. I use LinkedIn, Indeed, any other place that you can find roles. Just look if it's a legit one first and it brings you back to an actual job description. You also want to see if that job description is still considered active. There's many times I've found stuff and it's not active. You just want to try to avoid those as much as possible. You're most likely going to get them anyways. But to make it easier upon yourself, save these things. I have a great video that I'll list up here. It's an easy job tracker within Notion so you can track your applications as you go. Look at those roles and descriptions and look for what the companies are seeking. Are they looking for certain qualifications, certain certifications, certain responsibility, technical skills, basic skills such as good communication, project manager experience, Excel, and so forth? Look at those things and then tailor your resume to it as you keep going. When it comes to the actual interviewing, yay, you got that interview. What you want to do is take time to research the company, look up questions outside of the what would I do every day? What would my role be like? Those are things that you can most likely look up, and I don't think that it's not a good idea to ask them, but you want to make sure that you're standing out. So like, what kind of questions can you bring to the interview that people remember you with? I commonly use two things. ChatGPT, say, hi, I'm applying for a business analyst position. Can you put together some common BA questions for me? And from there, I'll make it into more technical questions, more of the culture questions, and more of the about you questions that you're going to be asked. The second thing that I also suggest looking into is just looking up on YouTube videos like this, other YouTubers that are making content similar to being a product manager or a developer. What type of common questions do you get to best prepare yourself? Now, the last thing that I would say is be intentional about those questions. What do you truly want to know about the company? It's a two-way interview. I always say this. Some questions that I ask to be able to stand out and really get a grasp of what the company is like, if I see that I'm interviewing with Joanne that's been at the company for 10 years, I want to know what made her stay in the company. What stands out to her? Because that is impressive to me and it should be to others. So I'll say, I see that you've been at this company for X amount of years. Could you tell me like what made you stay? So not only is it asking a good question, but it's also just building up the basic conversation. And I think sometimes it's good to be able to break that ice with somebody and really know what made the company stand out to them, what's made them stay there for a long time. So those are just some ideas of questions that you can ask. Really take some time to go through ChatGPT, go through other websites, even reach out to current employees at the companies that you're interested in. That's the best way to be able to know the company culture and then get ideas of things that you want to ask. It's also a really good time to talk about your portfolio. If you have any projects, if any videos, you can share that in the interview. That helps you stand out a lot as well. And then once you're done the interview, don't forget to follow up with them via email, just thanking them for their time. That's all I have in terms of interview tips. I'm definitely going to make a video that's longer on this, interviewing and job searching in general, but I hope that these tips were helpful for you and hopefully it helps you land your first job interview. Okay, everyone, that's all the tips that I have for you all. I hope that everything that we've gone through gives you the guidance, the confidence to be able to set yourself up for success, to really have those honest conversations with yourself, to be able to plan forward and be able to accomplish your goal of breaking into the tech space. My personal journey was a roller coaster, to say the least, but at the end of the day, I'm able to work from home along with my husband, who transitioned from military into tech himself. And now we have a beautiful little daughter in which we're both able to work from home as well and take care of her. It wouldn't have been possible if I didn't take the time to be able to really dedicate to something that I wanted out of life, meaning the time, the effort, the long nights, the early mornings, and so forth. And that means that you're going to have to do the same. Like we talked about earlier in the video, any type of change, it's going to take time. So I want to make sure that you remember your why, you keep that at the center of things, and you also make sure that you're asking yourself those questions and celebrating the wins and knowing that there are going to be some failures and some rough times ahead of you. One of the biggest things that I think helped me was hearing from other people's stories and kind of listening to them and feeling inspired to continue moving forward. And that's why I would like to leave you with a good friend of mine's story. His name is Juan Arriaga. He worked in the construction space for a majority of his career. And he is a family man, so working 50 hours a week was something that was not feasible for him. He wanted to be able to be home. Plus, he wanted something new in his career. So that's when he found Salesforce and he put a lot of time into it, similar to my story. got certified, and is now working from home as a tech consultant, combining both of his project management / construction experience into his new role as a very niche consultant, which is very valuable. So I'm going to make sure to put that interview up here for you to listen to. Definitely make sure you're connecting with him as well. Now I hope with my story and his story, you're able to find inspiration in pursuing your own tech journey. And I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, definitely make sure to put it in the chat below. Share your journey as well so other people can see what you're going through and get some inspiration from you as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye. Magic in the world.